What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Daily Refinement. My name is Chris. Thank you so much for joining me. Welcome to episode number 9.5 out of 48 in building a full-time income on eBay of $1,000, starting with zero. Today, I want to talk about multipliers and how to set up relationships with supply. This is probably one of my most common questions, and it's what people are working on when they're just getting started. So I want to go over some ideas and how you can multiply your time versus just trying to fit more into your schedule, which usually does not work. More people do not have more time in the day. What they're using is leverage in order to get ahead of the game. So let's get straight into it. Number one is categories. If you can learn a different category, then when you go to the thrift store or you go to a supplier, you can sell more than just one type of thing, and it gives them an opportunity to provide more value to you because you can sell more than one category. You're not just a one-trick pony. And this takes time, and if you're a seasoned reseller, and let's say you understand 10 to 30 categories, then when you walk into a liquidation sale or you shop online, you have more categories and a larger pool of items to find those profitable niches that you are looking for. So categories is where people always start. When you are just learning how to sell on eBay, you want to find the most profitable categories, and I'm going to be doing more videos on that soon so that you can get started there. But that's not the hardest part of reselling. That's just getting started. The next part, the multiplier, is suppliers. And this is a massively important thing to focus on because obviously the right supplier can make you a millionaire. It's finding the right supplier, and this is where you multiply your time because they are looking for goods that match your needs. And you have now a full-time person's job looking for things that you can sell. And I want to go into ways that you can set that up because this is the key. So the first thing is you need to think about what problems they are facing. And the stores and the sources that are going to be the most valuable to you are the ones that are in the highest distress. Okay, this sounds crazy, but when people do not have enough space, or there's an emergency, or a company is going bankrupt or out of business, or someone died and they're liquidating their estate, that's when people are at the highest need. They need to get rid of these goods immediately. And in the reseller world, we call piles of unlisted stuff a death pile. And a death pile is a list of profitable items that's not listed. It's just sitting there. And some people may have a death house or a death storage building of things that they haven't listed yet. So when you are developing a relationship with somebody, that's their largest issue, is stuff that's not selling. You know, if I were going to ask resellers that are in trouble, it's because they have too much stuff and not enough listing, right? Or companies that have too many defective products or products that they can't sell, and now we need to go in there and help them with that problem. And you need to start with getting to know who they are and what their largest issues are with their defective inventory. So I sort of naturally did this at a thrift store, and when I'm in there, I always ask what's not selling. And I usually don't hear other people giving that tip because what I'm trying to do is help them sell the stuff that's hard to sell. Everyone can sell brand new shoes or easy to sell new in-box items. It's the stuff like glassware or household goods that take up a lot of space, and for these small shops, they need help. And so if you can provide that, they'll usually be more lenient in giving you the items that you're looking for. So you'll see oftentimes I am taking goods directly to the thrift shop and just avoiding reselling them or taking them back to my house because I'm helping out that thrift store with something. So I want to shout out a bunch of people in my group today for some really, really good ideas. So they're looking for different types of suppliers. Some are bread and butter, meaning they go and look for items that are bread and butter for them, whether it be collectibles or shoes or electronics, whatever their bread and butter is. That's like, one type of supplier. Another supplier is a recurring one where you buy X amount of their stock at the end of the season. Every spring you go in there and buy their winter goods. That's a recurring deal that you have each year. You also have the supplier directly with the manufacturer. You're the only person allowed to sell those items. I have a little of all of these because I also run a YouTube channel where I talk about different ways of doing this. In my 10 by 10 by 10 model, which is 10 items to sell 10 times a day for $10 profit, 100% of those are dealing with the manufacturer directly. I want to be the only person selling that. When it comes to my liquidation business, yeah, I'm looking to set up relationships with managers. When it comes to like these closeout lots, that's a little bit more challenging. But let's say, for example, you have relationships with the golf courses, and when the season is out, they want to get rid of that inventory. And the way that I was explained that to by a manager was, Chris, there's only, let's say, demand for 1,000 items per season. I don't want to waste that demand on a discount item. I'd rather just liquidate it all to somebody and have only full price items. So when we make those 1,000 sales, they're all full price. So hopefully that makes sense. This is why companies, when they liquidate goods, sometimes you need to remove the tag. You have to cut the tag in half or cut a hole in it or put a black mark on it, because they don't want to degrade their market by having discount goods to sort of flood the market with cheaper items in their own brand. A lot of these higher end shops will even destroy the goods so they never make it to the market or send them to third world countries. So if you're going to be there trying to help these larger companies, remember, you want to preserve their market. That's really important to them. Okay, next is security. A lot of these companies have sensitive information on maybe hard drives or electronics. If you have a certificate and a license to properly wipe those clean, they'll be more likely to work with you. And then finally, another thought was attaching a charity element to it. Maybe you can create a proper nonprofit, 501(c), and 10% of your goods go to veterans or battered women's shelter or animal rescue, whatever. If you tie a charity into it, you are more likely to get a large amount of stock from somebody. I do want to bring up the example of Chewbacca. They are a massive store, the 250,000 square foot warehouse that started as an eBay store. So they do not have a license directly with Nike. What they do is buy giant liquidation lots from Burlington, Ross, Marshalls, or directly from liquidators that buy these goods directly from larger department stores. They built up a giant business in Irving, Texas, if you guys want to check them out. Again, this all starts with helping people solve their own problems, and then they will be more likely to give you goods that they need. Okay, so how does this start? You just start with presenting yourself professionally and more as a business. I don't see people will say dress up like a homeless person to go to the thrift store so you're more likely to get a discount. That's true if your goal is to get a discount. But if your goal is to create a professional relationship, I disagree with that. You shouldn't look homeless. You should look like a business person. You should wear a button down and look clean and present yourself like you're somebody who makes bulk purchases, like you're the buyer for your company. So I think it's important to represent yourself the way that you want other people to treat you. So that's super important to get started. That's sort of a basic overview of how to present yourself and your body language to get the initial conversation going with supply. But now I want to move on to a couple more multipliers that are a little bit more advanced or intermediate. Usually people who resell for a year or two don't have a problem with supply anymore. They figured out a way to find something that they can sell. Now there's more multipliers like staff. Okay, so Roger in my group asked me how to start with staff. Start small. Start with just hiring on a Saturday for 2 hours. What would you have that person help you with? Then have that person come back the next week for 4 hours. Then try to set up a part-time schedule. You are not qualified to create a full-time position for somebody. You don't know what that looks like. No one starts out like that. Even large companies have trial runs of 90 days before they hire somebody to try to see if it's a good fit and try to hash out the exact job description during that 90-day model, and I agree with that. I actually worked for eBay. It was my first job in 2007, and they didn't have an exact job description for me. Over 90 days, I just sort of helped them with trust and safety. So, it goes a long way back, but basically they were trying to flush out the job position too, and this is a gigantic Fortune 100 company. So don't expect yourself to immediately know what people need right away. You have to take your time and slowly figure out the job description. Okay, the next is process improvement. And as far as process improvement goes, every time you improve something, your shipping, your listing, your photography, or you get somebody like James to help you, it's going to multiply your effort, because obviously you can use their time and you can use your own, and that's Massively, massively important. And my last multiplier for you guys, thank you so much for joining me. If you do like this type of content, like, comment, subscribe, smash that notification bell, and you'll get more updates along the journey. This is a 3-month process, guys, of building it. So put on your marathon shoes. It's not a get-rich-quick thing. In fact, in 12 weeks, I'm expecting to just barely get to the point where I had the potential to earn $1,000 a week. I think it might take a little bit longer to really get there. It depends on how fortunate I get with these finds, if I can really build up a $40,000 inventory in the course of 3 months. But the final one is platforms. If you diversify platforms, different forums, and different ways to market, then you're going to increase the amount of stuff that you can get. And the amount of sales you can get, and you can turn your money over quicker. And that's very, very important because inventory trends can change all the time. So you want to move your inventory as quick as possible so you don't get stuck with stale inventory. I just watched this documentary on LuLaRoe, which is very depressing, and people were talking about their inventory being stale. But imagine your parent company sending out similar stuff to 80,000 sales reps. Now, that's like the definition of market saturation and flooding the market with stuff. And then also having a reputation for poor quality items. That's a recipe for disaster. So again, make sure you understand your different platforms. The LuLaRoe sellers that actually made it, they sell on many, many different platforms. Facebook Live, eBay, Poshmark, live parties. They diversify their platforms so they can at least get rid of their inventory. But hopefully that was useful, guys. Again, leave a comment if you guys have any questions, or you can email me at chris@dailyrefinement.com. I'll see you guys on the next episode.